Greets and good evening, one and all. Peace. Namaste. Hey, sup? Welcome to day 8 of my 30-day challenge to reconnect body, mind, and spirit. According to the calendar, it is September 6th, 2023. We are in between 8:40 in the evening and 9 p.m. Outside is super dark. And it's also super hot. I'm sure we're going through some more solar flare activity. If anyone is interested, there's a really cool channel that provides great insight and explanations. Solarham.net, check it out. There's also Sky Weather News, which also provides some great info on the sun and its activities. There are a couple of channels that also speak to this. I would say, if I'm recalling correctly, Stephen Burns. I'll put the link down below. His channel is really neat because he breaks down the sun's activities and how it affects the earth and how that affects us. I think his information is very insightful. He comes from a scientific perspective, but is able to put the information and weave it all together in such a way that it creates a really cohesive picture of what's happening, not only on the surface of the sun, but what's happening to us as well. So Stephen Burns is one, and if you like a more lively, kind of quirky experience, our everyday lives with Mr. De La Rocca, I will put the link below as well, is another great channel that usually keeps us up to date with the solar activity and how it impacts us here on Earth. So there's that. And in terms of getting back up on the horse after being bummed out by the poor audio in the last video, I'm super sorry for that, but I'm also grateful that I was able to express happy birthday wishes to my friend Secret or Rochelle, and also say a shout out to my favorite crew, Water Funk crew based in Ukraine. They had released a video, a new mix or live DJ set the same night I had recorded my Day 7 episode. So if you're looking for some new music, please feel welcome to check them out. Link in the section below. And if you are interested in quirky videos that will make you laugh, well, check out Secret for YouTube here. Also linked in the description section. So there we go. One of the ways I was able to, I haven't fully bounced back yet, I can feel it in my energy, but one of the ways I was able to get back up from feeling fully bummed out was, one, to express these feelings to one of the folks who's important to me that had somehow bummed me out with their reaction to something, and I don't want to single them out, so I won't say anything specific, but it was really neat expressing what I needed to express to help move forward from that bummed out feeling, and receiving some insightful and kind-hearted replies as well. So thank you so much. You know who you are if you ever do see this video. I appreciate your time. And of course, Chewy keeps me entertained. She's right now hunting a moth that has somehow managed to get itself trapped in the apartment. The balcony door is currently closed, so I can hopefully record some proper audio for you. But as soon as the recording is done, I shall open the door and hopefully the moth can be free and not be eaten by Chewy. Although if Chewy does manage to catch this wild critter, well, it'll warm my heart because it'll show that she still has her hunting instincts intact. The web of life, it's a beautiful thing. Recently also, something that helped me bump upwards from my downward space with new music from PFNA and Spock, also linked in the section below. If you enjoy ambient, intelligent music, well, check it out. It might be what you're looking for. Alright, so in the last episode, I was hoping to give some insights on feeding the mind and nurturing the spirit and moving a little bit away from focusing on the physical. Interestingly, focusing on the physical sometimes helps us to get out of our bummed out mind space and helps spirit feel like it is in a creative, purposeful space as well. So today I was able to get a little bit of rearranging in the apartment done. It's always a work in progress, and slowly the goal is to get rid of things I don't need. Somehow we go through life accumulating things. There's a phase, I think, when we go through, we feel that we need this and this and this to accumulate. And I do understand why. I understand why I like things. Things help keep me anchored or connected to what's important to me. Because as energetic beings, when we go out there and interact with other energies and such, it's easy, if we're not fully focused and fully aware of ourselves, it's easy to get pulled into their energy spaces as well, right? And we come back to ours and feel like, I don't feel like myself. Why is that? The things around me, the visual cues and the physical cues, the tactile things that I can touch and smell and such, they help bring me back to center. So slowly, by getting myself back into my space, it's helping my spirit rebound and bring back upwards. Rise as my name suggests, pure spirit rising, right? And hopefully by the end of these 3 days, we will all have learned some ways on how to help our spirits rise. Especially during these interesting and trying times. So back to what I was saying. In the last episode, we were going to review a great book that I have been reading called Celtic Light. And I won't do all of the reading that I did in the last episode, but I will recap that. What I find interesting about this book is how it connects the spiritual with the physical, or it connects religion or spirituality with nature or the physical, because they're both connected. And you know, what's really interesting to me is how people seem to get lost in thinking it's either all material or it's either all spirit, when in reality, it's a combination of everything. And Jesus once said, where there are two, there you will find me as well. Meaning that when you have physical and mind, when you have these two working together, spirit automatically shows up. When we have nothing and something, and they are reflecting off of each other, it creates something else. It's an immaculate conception of thought that just happens. And very logically focused folks have a hard time accepting that things can just happen. And I think these people forget that they have these things called emotions. And I think people who don't know how to deal with their emotions tend to push them away and gravitate more towards, no, I can only believe in something that can be proven. And emotions are, they're not real, or they're irrelevant, or they're not important. And having been like that when I was going through puberty and exploring different aspects and growing through different things in myself on my journey, I can recall, yes, I also had a mindset like that. But the thing is, some people stop growing at a certain age. They are like, no, I've reached this age, this is who I am, I'm going to be this forever. And if you're not aware enough, it's easy to be like, whoa, that's really cool, that person knows who they are. And sure, there's something to be said for that. But if we're going to live, let's say on average, 80 years at least, why would you stop growing at 18 and keep the same mindset that you had at 18 all the way through, while experiencing different lessons or different growth opportunities, different experiences along the way, right? I think the most successful folks are the ones who continue to allow themselves to grow along the way, all throughout. These are the wise ones in the world, right? And these are the ones who cherish that human spark of divine intelligence that flows through us, because they realize that there is no limit to that. That is something that continues forever. And we're not robots, and we're not flawed accidents of nature. We're these grand designs. We're the best machines ever, because we're not just machine, we're mind and spirit and the physical, and we have the capacity to love and to feel pain and to feel like, wait a second, that doesn't feel right. Should I do that? We have instinct. We have these things that cannot be programmed into robots. And I don't understand why there are so many people in this world who seem to be willing to give up their divineness, their wonderful gifts that they've not even explored yet, because some other people have told them that humans are flawed. Now, right, follow this logic. Humans are telling other humans that humans are flawed, so humans need to have artificial things implemented into us so that we can become not flawed. But if flawed people are telling flawed people this, should we believe what the flawed people are telling us? Think about it, right? Because who are these folks who are telling us that we're flawed? Aren't they flawed themselves as well in thinking like this? Anyway. One of my favorite ways of feeding the mind is by reading books. Not just reading a cell phone, not reading a tablet, not listening to audiobooks, but actually picking up a book, sitting down, reading the words. The words aren't coming at me like this, the way computer images are blipped at us. I get to control the speed at which I read. I can underline and highlight and flip the pages and bend the pages and pause. And yes, you can do this with Kindle readers and such. I don't have one, so I'm not sure. But honestly, I do believe that there's a different feeling between reading from a book, like a real book, compared to reading from a mini computer in my hand. I don't know. It could be the coldness of it. It's not appealing to me. Anyway, so by reading books, we get to discover new worlds. And by being able to explore new worlds and uncharted territories with our imagination, our consciousness grows. And the capacity to take in more information and fill our minds with more stuff also grows. And the more things we can feed our minds with, and the more things we are able to contemplate and shuffle around and such, the clearer the picture of our surroundings becomes. right? But if we're only looking at our surroundings through this lens, or this perspective, that's all you see. Whereas, how vast is the universe? How vast is the great big sky, right? So again, reading is fun. I'm rambling, but that's okay. This is me making the effort to get back on the horse after being dealt a devastating blow and being fully bummed out by a few things, and part of me did say, I'm like, aw, screw it. Who cares? Like, humanity is screwed anyways, right? Doesn't matter if we put more goodness into the world, does it? I think it does. I believe it does. And what showed me this is the rabbit hole on YouTube that I ventured down or through and found many interesting, uplifting videos, and they weren't all cat videos. There is a cute little monkey video that I have to share in the section below as well. And this little monkey is so adorable. But through the rabbit hole on YouTube, yes, I came across some more depressing things, but also at the same time notice that there's a shift happening in the collective consciousness once again, and this was inevitable. It's inevitable. Whenever the pendulum swings too far, it begins to swing the other way once again. So with all the craziness that's happening in the world in all of its various forms, there are voices of sanity that are beginning to speak up in various places, and I have hope that we will land in a better space very, very soon, because the momentum is growing. So keep it up, keep up the positivity, keep on trucking, keep on moving forward, and smiling into the great blue yonder. So in this book, one of the things that I had wanted to explain is what learning about the Celtic cross, or the high cross, the cross with the circle, means. So the circle represents the great circle of creation, the circle of the world. And the cross is the cross of redemption. And both are brought together in Celtic Christianity. The interconnection between redemption and creation. Light cannot exist without dark. So as much as we don't like the dark entities that are wreaking havoc across our beautiful planet, without them doing what they need to do, we on the other side would not be inspired to do what we need to do as well. Such is part of the circle of life. The two are interdependent. And see, that's the thing. Once we begin to fully realize that there isn't one perfect way. I know there are youngsters in the crowd who are being convinced, who are being routed or corralled or being trained to believe that there's only one, like if everyone had the same belief system, then everything would be great. But that doesn't work. Nature shows us this. Nature is expansive. Our minds are expansive. The more our minds expand, the more our minds want to expand, right? And the more we learn to create, the more we want to create. The more we see that we have abilities to create, the more we want to explore those. So I like noticing that youngsters in the crowd, in the audience, are beginning to wake up as well. Because looking at a phone all day long really seems boring to me. And I think the spirit recognizes that. And once the spirit recognizes that, like the spirit of the collective consciousness, then a shift inevitably happens, right? So everyone today keeps asking, what is the matter? The short answer is, matter is the matter. It is our view of matter, the extent to which the church has spiritualized the faith and set it apart from the material world, that has brought us where we are today. If only we were to stop and take hold once again of the Celtic understanding of the world and creation, we would find such an attitude challenged and corrected. The world is God's world, and God is known in and through it. The profound sense of the immanence of God in the world, the sense of an all-pervading presence, is known or is sensed when we allow ourselves to be in the world, but not of it, and we give ourselves permission to see the magic that exists between everything, because everything is connected. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to speak with the animals, or speak with the trees, or even the birds and the bees, right? Stop and smell the flowers. These are wise sayings. I speak to my plants, I tell them how beautiful they are. I speak to Chewy, I speak with the birds when, interestingly, they're on the sidewalk and I'm trying to ride my scooter by, and then they all fly in front of the wheels. I'm like, birdies, you're gonna get run over. It's sad that birdies are now on the ground because a lot of, I guess, there's too much stuff up in the air that it makes them crazy, so they're down on the ground now. And the more we can learn to live with our feathered friends and our animal friends and our plant friends, the more we can learn to coexist with all of nature, the happier we all become. We begin to see the magic, the magnificence, the wonderfulness that exists when everything is connected. I speak with Judy, she speaks with me, and I know that there are others out there who understand or comprehend this as well, so that's very heartwarming. And Spock, if you ever see this, thank you very much for your awesome feedback recently about the kitty cats and such. It's just beautiful. So where were we? Yes. God is in and through everything. The presence of God is felt and seen and heard and experienced in and through everything. The sense of the presence of God informs daily life and transforms it, so that at any moment, any object, any job of work can become the time and the place for an encounter with God. Now, God in our day and age is a very loaded word, unfortunately. So I refer to this all-seeing energy as the highest energy, the most high, the universe, spirit. But it's, we all know that there is this thing when we're in our most quiet places, our most secretive places, and we're speaking with the thing that we are being led to believe doesn't exist. When we're speaking with that thing, we know that there is a thing called God. We know that there is a higher power that we reach out to, that we reach up to for help and guidance and support, right? Even when we're surrounded by family and friends, sometimes they're not enough. Sometimes we need guidance from something higher in order to deal with those in our physical surroundings. And I'm sure Everyone has reached out to this higher power before, even those who claim it doesn't exist. So it's ultimately a question of vision, of seeing, of being courageous enough to look. So the Celtic approach to God opens up a world in which nothing is too common to be exalted, and nothing is so exalted that it cannot be made common. As someone in the southwest of Ireland once said, heaven lies 1.5 feet above the height of a man. It's very easy to take that in a literal sense. And it's also easy to be like, what do you mean it's just above and 1.5 feet above us, right? But it's a vibration. Through yoga, many of us are now familiar with chakras, and we're familiar with the crown chakra that's up here. Now, when we go above the crown chakra a little bit, well, that's where we're connecting with the divine essence or the divine presence of God. There's nothing here in the Celtic Christianity ways of things of the Puritan legacy, which was hung so heavily over much British and American religion, which seems to insist on the superiority of the spiritual, and says that all that has to do with the body or the physical must be trampled on and denied. Now, many of us are also learning that the type of religion that's taught by the church is a little bit watered down, or it's censored, or it's biased, and it's not the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So we're going through, again, very interesting times where if we're brave enough to explore, there's so much we can learn. The sense of proclaiming God in and through the world of its creating, and in and through the material things of daily life, was brought home to me on another occasion, so this is the author speaking, which was to prove extremely significant. I had picked up a book on prayer. Sorry about that. I got no further than the early pages when I was arrested by a quotation that was used. It was a blessing of the fire, as a woman lifted the peats at the start of the day. The night before, she would have banked down the fire, making the action a rhythmic one, and using at the same time a threefold commendation to the Trinity to watch and to guard her household. Now, at the start of the new day, she brought that fire to life again, and as she did so, said, I will kindle my fire this morning in the presence of the holy angels of heaven. As the embers burst into flame, she made the flame of fire symbolic of the flame of love, which she would keep burning for herself, for her family, for her kin, for her enemies, for the whole world. God, kindle thou in my heart within a flame of love to my neighbor, to my foe, to my friend, to my kindred all, to the brave, to the knave, to the thrall. Without malice, without jealousy, without envy, without fear, without terror of anyone under the sun. There's an immediacy and an earthiness here that greatly attracted me, and me as well. Also intriguing in this book and what I'm learning about Celtic Christianity is, and I like how this is worded, to allow this world to reveal its secrets, to get to know and to understand its hidden treasures, requires time and patience and curiosity. and an open mind. So many today do not have open minds. So many today are being fed what to think, but they're not being taught how to think. And that was what the beginnings of education or academia was about back in the days. It was about training us, training our minds how to think, and not only conditioning or forcing upon us what to think. And that's a very slight nuance that not many are catching, it seems. Because, you know, I've got a computer in my hand. What do I need to actually learn how to think for myself for? I can just look it up and the answer will come to me. I think there's something so lost in that. And it's something that is so scary as well. So there are many things in this book that I can read to you. But for copyright reasons, I shan't. However, before we close up, I will give you a little bit more. So here's a Christianity which was essentially monastic, shaped by the simplicity and austerity of the desert, reflecting neither the social nor the cultural framework of the Roman Empire. It reached a people who were close to the earth, for whom the elements of stone and fire and water, the ebb and flow of the tides and the seasons were immensely important. In this tribal-based society, personal relationships were of paramount importance. Not only relationships between people, but relationships with the wild creatures and with material things, and not least between this world and the next. I think many people seem to forget that we're not here forever. We are here temporarily. This is a school, a place of learning and exploring. I think it's more about exploring. And that eventually whatever we've obtained here materialistically, I suppose is the right word, we can't take it with us, you know. But we're going somewhere else. So I like to spend some of my time exploring and preparing for what's to come next. I really like that, the way this was worded about relationships with the wild creatures and with material things. That always evokes the image from Beauty and the Beast, where all of the saucers and candles and whatnot were dancing with Beauty and Beast. And, you know, it also evokes memories or just images of the fairy tales we've read, and people speaking with trees and dwarves and elves and seeing all the magical creatures and folks. I think they're still there. We've just turned blind towards them because our hearts are a little closed. Our hearts are colder now, and our hearts are more afraid, and we're more fear-based than love-based, right? And see what happens when you're fully love-based? Look at that. Look at this. Look who shows up just as magic. Right, Chewy? Little Chewy. Little Chewy. Chewy, you're so cute. Yeah, you want to read a book too? This Christianity was forged with a fire and a vigor that spoke as much to the heart as to the head, right? We're not just a brain. We are a brain, our heart, our lungs. We're all the organs. We are all of everything, all at the same time. We're not just one thing. And many people try to reduce us down to one thing, or reduce reality to its simplest forms. I'm like, well, what is that? Is it because your mind is so small that it has to be reduced to the simplest thing? Are you unable to expand your mind big enough, or wide enough or vastly enough to hold apparently differing perspectives together. I think the more we're able to hold different notions and different perspectives together, the better our comprehension of what we're in and what's going on. Out of this crucible of speaking to the heart as much as the head came a Christianity full of both tenderness and passion, with a dedication to beauty and yet a commitment to asceticism of the most extreme kind, a triumphant hymning of creation and yet an unswerving devotion to the cross. Here is a Christian understanding which is basic and universal. Ever notice how Bible stands for basic info before leaving Earth? Now, I wasn't born into the Christian religion or faith. It was not something that was pushed onto me either. It's something that I discovered, and the beauty of which I discovered through natural exploration. One of the things I really appreciate from growing up and about my parents is that although we were born into a certain religion, we were never limited. We were always encouraged to seek out different bits of information and contemplate it and explore, or at least though that's the way I saw it. You know, I was exposed to different ways of thinking, different theories, different philosophies and such, and that only continued to grow with me as I grew. So when I speak with people who seem to have a very limited view of things, it boggles my mind because I can't relate. And I'm thankful that I can't relate. And I'm thankful that I'm one of the few, it seems, in this world, in this realm, who was blessed with such an open-minded upbringing, an open-minded worldview. So thanks, Mom and Dad, for giving that to me, for imparting that to me through the books and our discussions and shows and different things that you exposed us to while we were growing up. So here's a Christian understanding which is basic and universal, the primal vision which takes us into the heart of the earliest Christendom and which speaks to that primal vision within all of us. It is something which many people today are looking for, but tragically are finding that the search is carrying them outside the structures of the institutional church. Now, I think it's a good thing that it's taking people outside of the traditional structures. I think the healthiest church of all, the healthiest learning space or classroom is nature. And the more nature gets limited and cut down, the more we are cutting off our own limbs. So slowly, hopefully more and more will begin to realize that. Now, going back to what I began the video with, and that was about being bummed out of somewhat. In addition to the few folks who contributed to this, now I'm over that. I've dealt with that internally, and I realized that it was that I became bummed out because I had expectations, or I had perceived these folks in a certain way, and that was my own doing. You know what I mean? Like, we perceive each other in certain ways, and if we don't live up to, or if those that who we perceive don't live up to our expectations, we then become bummed out. Now I realized that I was bummed out because of my own fault, right? And so I had to recalibrate myself there, and I'm not at all disappointed in the folks who had triggered this sensation. I leave them to continue growing on their own, and I shall continue growing on my own as well. But one of the icing on the cake was discovering a deficiency in the ceiling of my kitchen. So the other morning I was washing up some dishes, or was it an evening, I'm not sure. But a few days ago, Chewy and I were in the kitchen. Chewy was eating, and all of a sudden I heard this noise, and it sounded like a plastic wrapper of some sort of plastic bag, a crinkly bag, had fallen from somewhere, and I couldn't understand where. It spooked Chewy out. She had to stop eating. She scampered away from her bowl. She knocked over her bowl and all that. Luckily, the bowl did not break. The food did not spill out. So good job on you, Chewy. But it spooked her out a lot, it also spooked me out because I'm like, where could that have fallen from? I checked the cupboards, nothing had moved. And then when I looked up at the ceiling, there was this huge crack in the drywall. Fortunately, there was no water, no leaking, no dripping, nothing. It's dry, and it was a crack in the plaster caused by humidity in the air. And recently we have been going through, as I mentioned earlier, some pretty intense weather. Now, Chewy and I, we're troopers, we're warriors, we do not have an air conditioning unit, and I've never really understood why people who live in North America or in Canada, where we go through some brutal winters, why they need so much air conditioning in the summertime. Like, it's summertime, let's absorb the heat so that when we're experiencing the dreadfulness of winter, those dark, bitingly cold days and nights, we have in our hearts and in our minds the memories of warm summer days. Now, these last few days have been swelteringly hot. As I mentioned, we don't have an AC unit. I have a fan, and Chewy has some cooling pads and some spots around the place, the apartment, for her to hang out and such that are cool, like closets and what have you. So yeah, the humidity contributed to the crack in the ceiling, and I'll show you that shortly. Alrighty, so in the next few seconds, I'm going to show you a quick view of the mini disaster that I've been dealing with here in my kitchen, or the ceiling in my kitchen. And I put in the repair request a couple days ago, and I called the management office a few times as well. No replies, not even to the email I had sent, so it's kind of surprising. I'm like, what would have happened if this was like a leak or some kind of water issue going on here? Hopefully the details will show up on the video, and it's nothing too alarming. I'm happy that there's no water leakage or dripping and such, but having bits of plaster and drywall fall down from the ceiling behind you while you're cooking, or while Chewy's walking underneath, it's not pleasant. So hopefully, I'm sure as Murphy's Law would have it, I'll get some feedback tomorrow about when this hole in my ceiling will be repaired. So here we go. Yep. It's pretty neat. Looks kind of creepy as well. And over the last few days, it's been getting bigger and more pieces have been falling down. Interestingly, the first piece that fell, it smashed onto my stove. I don't know what kind of angling that was, but it did. It smashed on the stove, and some went into the oven and into the burner section as well, so I had to rinse everything out, and it was a little frustrating, but I maintained my calm, which was also interesting, and I'm taking this all as another learning experience and an opportunity to continue with my self-development, patience, and just maintaining while things fall down around me. So, in terms of perspective, I'm not sure how you are going to gauge this. So let me see if I can zoom back a bit and show you the lights fixture. I removed the lamp shade or the light shade just in case somehow the drywall around the light area decided to peel off as well. Who knows what's going to happen next. It's kind of interesting, but also kind of weird that there's been no response from management. And on the other side of my kitchen, there's a smaller humidity bubble that's formed in the ceiling. And yes, I know lots of you will be like, it's not humidity, Sherry, it's a leak. But I can assure you it is not a leak. There's concrete right above it. And none of this was wet at all. These humidity bubbles happen all the time. I see them down in the basement near the laundry room area where a lot of moisture builds up. And I'm not surprised that this happened now. We've been experiencing some pretty extreme heat and humidity conditions this week, so it fits, and I know I will eventually have it repaired as soon as I go down and bother the management team a little bit more, I'm sure. But yeah, let's see if I can zoom back a bit and give you one more last view before we continue on. Right underneath. Let's see what we can see. There's a pretty big gap opening up. This is gonna crash later on for sure. I wonder how much of my ceiling is gonna get repaired. Hopefully at least half. And I bet the building team is going to be quite surprised when they come up and see what I've been reporting on. They're perhaps thinking, oh, it's some minor thing. Yeah, we'll get to it. So there we have it. Let me know what you think. And if I should start repairing this on my own. I've never done drywall repair before, but I think I should learn. So now that you've seen the crack in the ceiling, I guess it's time to wrap up this video, and hopefully both the audio and the video will turn out okay and there won't be too much editing required. So I really do want to get back into the swing of things perhaps the next one will be about some workout, but I do need to also make some hot sauce with some super spicy, super hot Scotch bonnet peppers that my mom grew from scratch. Her tree blossomed like crazy this year and produced tons of peppers. I was lucky enough to get a bag, and in the next few days I shall show you how to make a quick Scotch bonnet island style pepper sauce made basically from 3 ingredients, so stay tuned for that. And thanks Mom for sharing the fresh peppers and citrus with me. Alrighty, so we got a glimpse of Chewy. I don't feel so bummed out anymore. There are a bunch of links for you to check out in the section below. I recap the book. Hopefully you'll check it out. What else? Show you my face. And on that note, I thank you as always for tuning in. I super appreciate. Till our paths cross once again. Stay well. Be great. Peace out for now.